All right, let's get started. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we
Great.
can.
Excellent. Welcome everyone. This is our second town hall for Hypha for the big beta launch. So we anticipate a lot more town halls to come. And as the community grows, as the DAOs are growing, so I think more people able to participate. It's an open forum, really. Welcome everybody who wants to learn more about DAOs, who's already running DAOs, right? And exchange some ideas, some thoughts. I want to make it very interactive. The first town hall was more, a presentation, of what is coming. Today we're going to show more of the things we didn't pick up last time, and then get into a larger section of question and answer. So let me share with you the agenda for today. And then I'll stop sharing slides, actually. We can always go back to any questions. I can pull up the previous slides. But for today, the agenda is around and revisit really the big picture, what it means to run DAOs at different scopes and at different scales. And I want to talk a little bit more about what that means for individual DAOs and connecting to other DAOs. Then we have Luigi here today, who's going to do a website demo, help you to understand really how the website is structured, how you navigate that piece, where the different features are, and the getting started flows. So looking forward to spending some time on the new website and see where we take that. Then I want to talk a little bit about DAO services. So we have a new thing called the Hypha portal that is slowly booting up, and I will talk more about what that is and how you can join that. And then, as I said, it's an open conversation here. Really invite everyone to participate. Share what you've done so far. Share what you'd like to see. How we can help you to succeed with your DAO. So with that, Alexandra, you're here too. Anything else from your end before we dive into the topics?
No, we're good. I'm happy to see everyone here and excited to start our second town hall. Other events coming up. Stay tuned for more information and reminders.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. So let me stop my sharing here. Come back to the main forum. Welcome, everyone. Oh, I see Dan. Indy, great to have you here. So let me pull up my notes here on the idea that we want everyone to succeed in this space. We want people to start up, boot up, launch their own DAOs, right? And doing that at different scopes and at different scales. So let's dive a little bit, at the sort of journey that we all find ourselves in. Journey that Hypha was on for the last 4.5, almost 5 years now, and the journey that new DAOs will be, going on. And some of you already have started their journey, but I wanted to, say something more about what that can actually encompass. How important it is, the journey, and how we can invite others, to be part of that journey. Because you as a single DAO, right, you only have a certain scope and a certain impact. But if you join forces with other DAOs, if you join, say, ecosystems of 100 DAOs, your impact will increase, right? That's when you find the others. That's when you get to a point where, whoa, we can actually tackle the bigger problems together. But imagine if that even goes higher up, goes into 10,000 DAOs, right? And that's where you're really starting to see shifts, right? Shifts in society, shifts in movements, shifts in social culture and social political landscape. That is the vision, that's what we're after, to connect and to launch many, many DAOs to tackle these really critical issues we see out there. But the journey begins with the core, right? With the team, with the basics of the DAO. So you want to come together and see who's actually with me on that journey, right? Who are my co-founders? Can I trust the people? Obviously, yes, they're your co-founders. So what I do first, right? And that is for me sort of the idea of you're starting from the inner core, from the inside, and then slowly move outside. Slowly increase your radius, slowly increase your scope and scale, and then eventually reach all of the others, right, and connect with them. And that's the idea of the beginning of the journey. And the beginning doesn't have to be sort of overly complex, right? You can just focus on a few, pieces, important pieces for you, that you have to tackle, as a team, right? As a small core team of founders, of people, like-minded people coming together, wanting to build something, right? So for me, it's important to say, okay, what do we need to do? We don't need to build a whole organizational structure at this point. Not necessary. We can just start small, say, who's here? Maybe, see what kind of role do you want to do? What kind of quest do you want to launch at this early stage, right? So it's a lot to do with team building effort. And that to me is an important scope, that we don't want to break out of this. Don't think about, the bigger picture yet, but just focus on the team. Who's here, what kind of role, what kind of capacity, maybe how you begin to see you reward, some of the members here. But even that can come later, right? For me, this is once the organization is growing and you see some more structures inside the organization, that's when you grow. That's when you have a better way for onboarding other people who are joining now, the journey, right? And going with you on this exciting adventure. So that's an important piece for me. The team building, focusing on the basics, and then the structure can come really at a later stage. And that later stage for me is when you see more people coming in, right? After the first 5 have arrived, maybe you have 5 more, 10 more, 15 more, 20 more, right? Then you want to start looking at the organization, at the entity that you're building, right? Again, that can be anything. It can be a community. It can be, a startup. It can be a cooperative. You give it a name, you give it a meaning, you give it a purpose, right? That's at the heart of the DAO. And then you can focus on, okay, what kind of structure do we want to apply? We have role archetypes. We have sort of templates for roles, templates for proposals, like defining how do you join as a new member. So you can evolve into a membership policy here, or other important bylaws or startup documents you see in these spaces. Create those, vote them in, and then they're active. They're on chain. They're now there forever, or until you make the next iteration of that document. So that's the next stage for me, the organization building pace, right? But then we don't stop here. What's coming next for Hypha is then the community space, right? We call it the community layer. And this is where you can start getting into an important alignment with a larger audience. And that's very unique to Hypha's model, is to say it's not a community that's just out there, right? And we're going to interface or do something with them. No, they actually become part of the DAO, right? And that's a really important distinction. So they're not, separate from the DAO. They're part of the DAO, and you can define how do you want to interact with the community, right? What kind of features do you offer them? What kind of memberships and roles and rewards will they have? All of this stuff can be defined once the community layer is booting up. And what's really important here is to see that every successful organization that we see needs a larger community space. Why? Because they can tap into the collective intelligence that's out there. They will give you ideas and thoughts and quests that you even haven't thought about as a small core team, right? Because you're so busy with doing new things, right? But now you can actually lean into the community, even handing some of the stuff over to the community and say, we don't have the capacity, right? We only have a few founders. Help us out, right? Bring us to the next level, right? And that's the interesting piece with the community, that they're part of the DAO. They're growing with the DAO, right? They're not separate from it, but you bring them in, right? You make them members of what you're building here, connect them to the core purpose of why you're here, right? And then build it out from there. So that's for me sort of the next layer up, right? So yes, community, let's define how we invite them and what we want to do with that to get that sort of alignment, right, with the community. And that's one experience I had, in my previous, life and working for larger organizations. If there's such a thing as alignment, if you make it possible to say, yes, the core team and the community can be aligned, they're moving in the same direction. They're not going in separate ways, right? It's not, a democracy like in the US where everything fractures and is going into their own fights and corners. No, it's coming together here. With the DAO, you have the opportunity to come together, find the alignment, and then move into the same direction. And that's a beautiful thing. If you experience that kind of sensing, that kind of aligning, that kind of collective intelligence that can arise out of this context, that's a beautiful thing to build out of the DAO. And then lastly, two things I wanted to mention, where to go from there, because that's obviously now the community is in place. Now communities can reach out to other communities, right? And these can be communities in other DAOs. So these can be communities that are on the ground, that are building stuff, and you can pull them in, you can connect with them. And that's when we get into this ecosystem building layer, right? Where the focus now is shifting again, from alignment and giving them a participative way of engaging with you towards impact and what I call coordinated action, right? So coordinated action is reaching out across DAOs and seeing how we can now build strength inside our given ecosystem, right? So ecosystem will have boundaries. There'll be things that you can propose to inside a DAO. We call it the anchor DAO. That's the first DAO who says, I'm stepping up, I'm staking enough for members to come in and build this ecosystem. And here's the purpose of the ecosystem. Here's the manifesto we're creating for the ecosystem. Here is a document, a constitution-like document, almost what we did with Hypha, to say, here's why we're coming together. So join us and look at the constitution. If that resonates with you, let's build this ecosystem out of DAOs that are joining. So bigger space, bigger scope, right? New ideas that are floating in and new people that are joining you. But again, it doesn't stop at the ecosystem. You can go even a layer up and say, okay, this is actually about the entire network here. We're building something called movements, right? That focus on even larger scales, right? And really focus on change, focus on larger, it could be change in a bioregional context, in a geographic context, in a political context, in a cultural context. I mean, you name it. Yesterday I was listening to a conversation on using sort of these new Web3 technologies for something to revamp Occupy Wall Street, right? Is that another Occupy Wall Street we're doing here? Or is it going to be going into a different direction altogether? Interesting conversations between people, on the ground who wanted to make that change, wanted to have a dramatic impact on the financial system here, and also sort of the kind of decentralization we see now are possible through the DAOs here. For me, the view is, it's the Buckminster Fuller approach. It's showing them that there's another possibility, right? A more, beautiful way of building these things, and let's attract people to that, right? Building the bridges to people to cross and then come and try it out. So that for me is really sort of the landscape here that's opening up in front of us with the new DAOs that are coming on board, with finding the others, right? With now beginning this journey on your own DAO. So I'll stop here, and then any reflections on that? Otherwise, we're going to see something more from the website now.
Thank you. Luigi will be engaging with us now, so you have the floor. I'm going to post the link for everyone, and go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Joachim. Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen so we can all see the same page. Can you guys see my Chrome tab?
Yep.
Nice. So this is our marketing website, guys, and I can present it like saying that, that's for us the place where we wanted two main things, like helping everyone understand all the potentiality of a DAO, all the features we provide as a tool. So everything you can find in Hypha DAOs. We have all the onboarding flows, so how to really start, how to really get started creating an account, how to set up a DAO, how to join a DAO. But there's many other sections. We're not going to cover the full website today, of course. Today is mostly a main focus on the features and on the onboarding. But then I invite everyone to just browse around a little bit, come back to us any questions about other stuff that we're not going to see today, like pricing plans or services or blog or news. So without further ado, that's the website, hypha.earth, quite pure and simple. If you guys want to get started, really find the get start button here on the home page, on the header. So what we wanted to do was to divide the many features that we have on the platform onto three main categories, so that it's a little bit more easy to navigate through them and see how to really start to use the DAO. Our three main categories are one, which is called shape organizations. The first one is mostly about features that allow you to actually shape your DAO accordingly to your organizational needs. So for example, if you need to set up circles, if you have a big team of people working for the same project, you might want to create some circles, and you might want to create different roles for each of these circles. So this is the first category where we have all the structure component of the DAO. We're going to see some of this feature later. The second of these three main macro category is the team engagement. So everything that you can do for allowing your members to actually interact with the DAO. So things like quests, things like assignments, things like badge, elections, they all fall into this category. So how members, both in community and in the core space, will interact with the DAO. The last macro category is about all the economic part, let's say. So the treasury setup, the token, the multi-signatures, and so on. So we have these three entry points. You can always go in the main entry point, which is the features page, where you have a little bit of introduction more about everything. There's some screenshots here and there that allow you to see an overview of which are the main DAO screens. And after that, here you go inside directly one of the three categories. There's also this other navigation that I think is quite interesting. It's where you have all the features just in one place. So that's the place where you can have an overview of all the little pieces that we basically have on our Hypha DAOs. So for example, I wanted to showcase one, because then all the features are organized in the same way. Let's see, for example, roles, right? So whenever you are inside the DAO and you find some new widget, some new component, you can always refer to this marketing website for finding more information on how to use it and what's the potential is. For example, in roles here, we're gonna go quite deep, telling you all the bits and pieces of how a role intersects, for example, with reward tiers, how people can apply for a role, how the administrator can set up new roles, and so on. So I think this is it about features. I don't want to spend too much time on that because it should be pretty straightforward. I want to just mention that it's an ongoing part of the website. So far, we covered all the features that are actually online for beta, but for sure, every time that we update or every time that we implement new features, they are going to be presented also on the marketing website. What else to say? There's another parallel part of the website, which is in the education. Yes, it's a portal where we have a lot of how-to tutorials on ranging from how to set up your DAO to how to create, for example, roles. And just to say that, we have also this other entry point where you can browse and search for features here, and you're gonna find every video and every tutorial that we created regarding that features. So that was one. Is there any specific question about this part of the website? I'm super happy to give more input, if anything.
There was a question from Dan, but I think Alex already answered in regards to Hypha DAO proposals already integrated with Nestor. We already have a relationship with Nestor, and yes, they are integrated.
Right. All right, so let's move to the get started section, which is in my opinion, the more interesting. So from every page of the website, you always see this button top right that sends you to the get started flow. So these are our main onboarding flows. There are multiple simply because it's easier to first create an Hypha account and then creating a DAO or joining a DAO. That's just why we decided to divide in four different get started sections, mostly because it's just easier to divide it into flows. So for instance, the first thing that you always want to do is creating an Hypha account. Sorry. So entering this flow, you have all the information required. You can also click watch the tutorial, and we have Dominic. He actually recorded a 3-minute video that just goes through the steps. Otherwise, from here, we have a super simple step-by-step tutorial that leads you to all the steps required to create an account with us in Hypha, which is actually super simple. By clicking this sign up button, you're going to redirect it to the DAO space, because this is the marketing website. The actual accounts there, they start on the DAO website. So from there, we just have one verification step, the captcha. Then there's this QR code, which is an actual invite. By scanning this QR code, it will automatically download the Hypha wallet, our wallet, and it will allow the creation of an account. We do that because we want to be sure that we don't have thousands of bots just creating random accounts. So we have this very simple step that is required, which is a QR code scan that is connected to an invite. So after that, inside the Hypha wallet, creating the account is super simple. We are just required to set up to insert your name, and then we're going to create a blockchain account for you, and that's it basically. Once there, simply go back to the DAO to connect the dots. So we click this button that is going to launch a login request, scan with the Hypha wallet, sign the transaction, and that's it for the account creation. So this is the longest get started flow we have, which is the creation of the account. It actually looks more like more things to do than it actually is, because once you go on the page itself and download the Hypha wallet, it really takes like 1 minute doing this step. But once the account is ready, the other options are there. So creating a DAO and joining a DAO it takes seconds. So for example, when the account is ready, creating a DAO is simple as that. You just need to click on DAO launcher. So you go to this page where you can start the creation of a DAO. We required, of course, a login to be sure that the account is connected. And then we have one step now where we just require the insert of a DAO name, uploading a logo, and a little description of what the project is, and that's it. The DAO is ready. And same goes for the joining a DAO. Basically, once the Hypha account is ready, by simply exploring the Hypha network, the link is here, you will see all the cards with all the DAO available. And again, we just verify that we have an Hypha account. And once inside, you're going to find this button on top right, which is sends a request to the enrollers and the admins for you to join the DAO space. And that's it. Then the enrollers will let you in. So these are our onboarding flow. I hope it was clear.
Luigi, can I add one thing to the flow?
Oh yeah, please.
Staying on that screen, that's great. Thank you. You notice this corner, lower right corner there, where it says want to proceed on EOS, click here, right? Do you want to talk about it, or I can say a few words about the blockchains we're supporting?
Yeah, you can of course go ahead.
Yeah, let me start
it because I had when you move around the faces of Zoom, I had all the people on the Zoom preview faces on the bottom of my screen, so I didn't see I forget about the bottom sticky.
No problem.
So go ahead, Joachim.
It's kind of in the corner. It's actually on purpose in the corner. So we officially launched, as you probably know, on the Telos blockchain, years ago. And then we got one of the biggest blockchain grants in the history, of blockchain technology, and implemented the Hypha DAO now on EOS. So it's both on Telos and on EOS. But we're still in a transition mode now. So we're slowly adding more DAOs to the EOS blockchain, making sure this is all stable, right? And it's supported, and we have the performance, right, that we expect from a blockchain like EOS. And this is all going in the right direction. Actually, today we had wrapped up the final milestone. Milestone 4 was about the upvote election process. So this is moving along pretty well. But you still do see this as a branching point here, right? So if you go the default path, it's still going to be the Telos blockchain. So your DAO is then built on everything Telos, but you can already utilize the EOS blockchain. Once that is more stable and we're more confident that it can scale to many, many more DAOs, then we'll support EOS a lot more, and also with more features that are coming here. So really excited about that, and that we are going right on 2 chains. And in the future, who knows? We may invite other blockchain communities and see if the Hypha DAO makes sense for them as well. Back to you.
I want to ask a little question from everyone. If there's any questions so far, or if there's anything perhaps that is lingering in their mind right now, it's a good time to interact as well, because it's nice to hear. What do you think? Do you see this is easier to engage with your members? Do you consider this a little difficult or easier to involve your network, or whoever members you're gonna have in your DAO? I'm curious to hear from Dan, especially.
Well, I have a bunch of questions, so I'm gonna pop them in the chat, and you can choose what you want to respond to and answer, because it's better if I just post it here.
Okay, so there's let's do a few, and then we can move on. How can we not remove a member from the DAO? So maybe Alex can answer that. I know the new layer is having this coming up, but you can.
Arseny has raised his hand.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I will jump on the first one. In terms of removing the member, that's currently not possible, but we are working at the moment as part of the current feature that is in development is community layer. So once that is launched, as part of that feature, you're going to be able to revoke membership, kind of starting from the whole DAO, and then also including the circles. So, and then currently also fourth question is that how many DAOs are using. I mean, we just launched, so currently we are the only one that is actively fully using, because the tool was not available for people before. And fifth one related to the bugs. I think we were working very hard to resolve all of the bugs. So I think that's it's resolved. So things should be super smooth from the perspective of the bugs. So that's my take on these 3.
Yeah. We have the second question. Maybe Alex can help me with that one. We have a well-functioning holacracy organization. We're talking about GaiaNet, which is a network of networks. And Dan is asking, if we don't have money right now, we have many members in our network that would like to activate more. What should we transition from coordination to Nestor to the Hypha DAO? What are the proposals? It's probably one of the best ways, but Alex, would you like to answer?
Yeah, so why would you set up a DAO? Is that your question, compared to using Nestor as an organization tool?
Well, using Holacracy, we're using Holacracy plus a bunch of additional meeting formats, and our organization is running really well. People have full autonomy. We have our weekly updates, like everybody's producing output. Why should we switch and make things complicated and move to something else now? Can you motivate me for that? Because I'm super curious, and in the long term, we want to use it. But right now, like if we would have a couple of $100,000 or something, would make more sense. But now that we are without money and we're doing this voluntary, kind of like, can you motivate me? What's the point in really going deep in this? Because it's going to require quite some resource of the organization to shift to using the Hypha DAO compared to what we are doing now to coordinate our work? That's my main question.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's indeed a deep question, and we need more time to answer it fully. But what the Hypha DAO gives you is this visibility inside the network, right? Positioning yourself as a service DAO and addressing the needs of the DAOs that are currently emerging. I've seen your other question on the 100 DAOs that are there. Yes, that's true that because people were waiting for the beta version, to emerge. So, a lot of them have been waiting and are just re-engaging at this time. So you're not seeing a lot of activity right now, but we believe that will pick up and that will, create this energy inside the network. So by having your agreements transparently on chain as well, that's the other difference, I guess. And also showcasing your purpose and your know-how and services as part of the network, you should be able to develop new value flows, right? I know that has been probably, and that's the case for a lot of DAOs, the struggle to generate, value and sustainable value flows. I believe that with the token, and your own token, you can then create this value flows and this business model. So that would be the three differences that I would highlight, but of course would need more time. And I see Joachim and Arseny will want to add to that.
Yeah, sure. It's a great question, Dan. And I've been struggling to see how that applies to existing communities. Let me tell you my story a little bit. I've been a member of many communities in the past, large communities, exciting communities. It is really about sort of the liveliness, the volunteers, the energy that is showing up and is present in this community. That's drawing people in, that's growing the community. That's where you want to take it. And for me, what we're doing with the Hypha tool is now saying, are you going to take it to quote unquote the next level? And by next level, I mean, you're going to transition from the liveliness of a community to livelihoods of members. And that's a totally different space. That means I can actually say that I'm going to spend my life, my time, my energy in something that evolves into a thing we're building, right? And I get rewarded for that. And I know that it attracts other people. So money will come in at some point and it supports my livelihood, right? Suddenly I can give up my other job and say, I'm 100% present here. That's only possible because we're now shifting towards the DAO that actually guarantees this is happening, right? It guarantees that you're holding a role. It guarantees you get the payouts and the tokens that you define, right? It guarantees that the funds are coming in and, as Alex said, are visibly, distributed throughout the organization into the right circles, into the right roles, right? And you can stay there. You can create your livelihood right here in that space. That is the most critical part for me. And then, of course, beyond that, it's like, wow, I have a purpose. We have a purpose. We will have some impact together, right? So this other idea of, no, it's not you against me, and it's not me making money and then surviving in some way. No, it's actually us together in this space. And we coordinate. And this goes back to your question about coordination. Why would you coordinate? Well, you want to coordinate because you want to tackle the harder problems, and you have to do it together, not in isolation. And you're finding the others in these spaces, right? You're reaching out to the others, you connect with them, you establish a level of trust that's necessary, right? And then you go from there. For all of this, you need a foundation. You need something that says that won't go away. It's not a spreadsheet somewhere that, is maintained. It's not some bank account somewhere that holds the funding here. It's all transparent. We're voting on this stuff. We have access to that stuff, and we can change course if necessary, right? That's the foundation. I think that's necessary to go from that idea of liveliness, volunteerism, and people having a good time and really building good stuff there, but really moving into sort of livelihoods. And this, I'm staying here for the next years, maybe the rest of my life. I'm dedicated to this project here. Let's do it. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Arseny, you want to tackle on the number 5 question. I
Yeah.
tried using the DAO 6 months ago, and it was frustrating because there was a lot amount of bugs. So yeah.
Just want to say kind of thank you, Dan, for this question, because I feel this type of question help us also figure out how are people responding and understanding. So it made me think during the Joachim speaking. So I think like we can launch into kind of pitch mode and say we have this and that. But for me, I think the difference between Hypha and like Nesta, which by the way, we kind of had some plans at certain point to have certain integration, is I think it's simplicity of the tool, because it enables you to model from like sociocracy to kind of Eden election all the way in between. So we are really building towards, it's not fully there yet, but we are really trying to build in this way that they're like simple tools that then can be combined in many different ways. So it's not matter of either or, but rather like what's the best usage for Nestor over Hypha. And we are trying to be, I mean, we were before much more opinionated in a way how you should do things, but now we are trying to leave the product open, so people are able to engage and says, okay, maybe I want to use sociocracy, but I want to change this, rather than having opinionated tool that's like fully model on sociocracy, and if you want to do anything else, you can't. And second part, which I think is more important in this environment, I think, is these things like town hall and community. I think like the idea of Hypha is that we are doing things in community, rather than, okay, here is the product, pay us and we will offer you customer support. I think the difference is kind of moving into Hypha is kind of being part of the community. And as you mentioned, I'm not fully, maybe Alex can help me in terms of what are our plans, but like our free plan will include certain amount of core members, and I'm not sure if it has certain amount of community members, but it's going to provide you with some kind of plan that you can start basically organizing and coordinating things, and and kind of being in community and connecting with others. I think community is the community and simplicity are kind of
correct. Thank you, Arsene. Okay, I just want to be fair to everybody too, also that is in the group. If any questions come up, how do you feel about this answer, Dan? Do you feel? So I know one of the main questions is about the tokenomics, and maybe Alex can touch a little bit on what's coming next, because we're still in beta, and there's 4 major upgrades that are coming in. So are also in relation with all these questions you just provided. I think question number 3, we're researching the position Gaia Native as a network state, which a lot of refi and regenerative movement are, being targeted to. How do we, let's see, this will mean a participatory governance process, constitution, marketplace, and our own coin to exchange value. Can you tell me more about the suitable ways Hypha DAO is to run a network state project? So
Yeah,
I
can jump in with some thoughts. It's a great question, and for me, it's like, again, there's foundational pieces that you need to set in place before you can, really go to sort of larger and larger scales with different scopes. One example, when early this year I was at the INC in Austin, Texas, that's the Independent National Convention, to see how would a DAO suit, for a political movement, right? Can you set something like this in motion to change, political landscapes, to introduce new ways of participatory governance, of finding voters who are drawn towards a new election process and ways to change a lot of things. I think the attention is there. The technology is here now, but there's a lot of work to do and sort of in the mindset, in the shift of individuals and groups to say, let's try this out, right? I think there are a lot of bits and pieces that we need to activate to get to a sort of a network layer or network state that says it's running autonomously, it uses these new technologies. It is structured enough so we can create templates to move and roll this out on a larger scale. Example is, Patrick just joined the call here, doing fantastic work with voting processes for larger audiences, a process called upscale that we actually demoed this morning. So there's a new feature coming to the DAO that allows, thousands of people to vote delegates, right? That's a fundamental piece. You get into sort of the network state layer. How do people participate without creating chaos, right? Without having a community that goes in all kinds of directions, right? You need some kind of a stronger sort of delegate structure, right? That is also bottom up, right? It's not meant to say somebody dictates where it goes. No, it's the participation of the community, of the voters who want to see who they elect as new leaders for these new spaces, right? Or another thing Patrick is working on is arbitration processes. How do you actually ensure that conflicts are resolved in a way that works at this new network layer versus going to courts, right? That's the shortcut, and then you're back into the traditional systems, right? But DAOs actually help you to pull out of this traditional world, build the bridge, build the right interface to that, and say, yes, well, you can fall back to the court system. You register your DAO somewhere where you feel comfortable and do the traditional things. But on the other side, we can introduce a whole new way of arbitration of solving these conflicts through services that are popping up across the DAO landscape. So it's an exciting topic for me to see what's evolving really in these new spaces. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we probably finalized most of the questions Dan had, and thank you for bringing that up about being a network and all helping each other. If we are not organizing and helping each other, we will never move into this new way of doing things. So even though the DAO is still, being formed, it's there, and it's a tool to help organize all these ecosystems that are already super organized, right? But I think we can move on, Joachim, for the next part of the agenda. Luigi, I know I interrupted your presentation to ask a few questions, but maybe you want to finalize any details would be great.
Oh, thank you, Alexandra. I was okay. It was a very quick overview of how to navigate the features. I didn't want to go into detail on any features. First of all, because there's so many features that we would need a call just for that. And the onboarding is pretty straightforward, in my opinion. I just wanted to direct on where are these onboarding flows, and that's it. Actually, I would invite people on giving us some feedback if they find any inconsistency, or if we need to improve anything. But from my point of view, I was done. Thank you for asking.
So I will post the Discord link for anybody that is not on Discord, where you can post bugs or features that you would like to see, and we'll continue with the agenda.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Alexandra. And thank you, Luigi, for the walkthrough on the website. That's great. Especially the launch process, right? That can be confusing. It's not Web 2 anymore. There's no login, username, and password anymore. What happened? What just happened to that button? It's a whole new world we're entering here, right? And creating your Hypha account for the longer term, right? Start here is a good entry point, right? And find the other DAOs, join the DAOs, create your own DAO. And then take it from there. And it's a lot of experimentation too, right? With the free plan we're offering, you can just try it out and see if you find the others, find your co-founders and see how far you can take it. And then if questions come up, then come back to us. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about with 2 additional spaces we're opening up. They're not yet really fully described on the website. But we're doing that in a very informal way. One of these spaces is called Portal, the Hypha Portal. And that's on the Discord server, where actually, let me jump to the Discord server. You can actually see this here directly, where that's going to be located. So here on the left side, you see I'm at Hypha. That's the Hypha Discord server. And you can see there are certain categories in Discord. One is called the Hypha community. That's where we welcome anybody. It's a public space, right, to join the conversation here. And then right underneath is a new thing called the Hypha portal. that has an entrance space and that has a portal space. Now, what's the difference between the two? We want to invite anybody who has launched his new DAO to get into deeper conversations, informal conversations about what to do next, or exchange some experience, exchange some knowledge, and see what you want to do next. So for that, we have the entrance area to say, you can show up and say, hey, I just opened a DAO, where do I go next, right? And then we kind of let you into the portal space, which is still public view, so anybody can see the conversation, but the participation is only for people who have a DAO. So we want to make sure that you have the right people there. And the other questions about, more generic question about what is a DAO and why a DAO can be, handled in different spaces. So this is specifically now for the newcomers, for new people opening up the DAO space and wanting to know more, wanting to find the others, wanting to post some questions. We have our team on standby here. We'll check this space very often, so we can answer any potential questions about the purpose of the DAO. So it's less about technical questions here, right? How-tos or bugs, right? Or feature requests. This is more about now I have this thing called DAO. What to do next? What have others done next? Maybe finding others who are in different segments and similar segments than I am. And that leads me to the other thing here. You see Hypha Labs. It's going to be the second space we're opening up, also an informal space, again with an entrance area, and then people can go into these verticals. And we sort of segment that into 5 verticals. There's the socioeconomic lab. So these are projects that are more at an economic layer. So what do I actually do to generate value with my DAO? What are the economic circular or linear value flows that allow me to use the DAO? An example in this space is a project we've been engaged with in Europe. It's called the Community of Energy Communities. So using communities to sort of foster the idea of there's a shared energy space that allows me to, drop off the regular grid, right? And evolve that into a whole independent network to build new kind of exchange and value flows in this space. So really exciting stuff happening here, and there are others, a lot of stuff also in the regenerative space, but also, cultural space. I know, Alexandra, you're very much looking into this, what can happen in these labs. I mentioned INC, there are other political spaces we are exploring here to use DAOs to create larger political movements, right? Then, of course, our roots in Hypha and in seeds with very much the regenerative space. There'll be more labs in here, how we support land-based DAOs, permaculture, templates and patterns coming out of this to support the conversation, right? And then also education is a big one for us. Education meaning, how do you bring that into an educational context? Institutions, universities, create coursework to say how important the DAO landscape is and what can it change and do actually affect these regional, geographic or topical conversations that are starting up in these spaces. Okay, that's my quick tour of these spaces. Back to you.
Yeah, any other questions that might emerge right now will be great timing. We have about 10 minutes left. And I just posted something that we all are network and we're all working on different spaces, but we need to unify it. And the way to unify it is ask for help. If you feel stuck, if you feel something's not working, it will be great to have that feedback in our Discord channel, so we'll be able to support you fully. Yeah. So I'm curious from the people that are here, the members, if you have already created your DAO, and where are you at in your process? And how can we, how could Hypha support you? Do you guys need more video content? Or perhaps there's founders clubs to be able to help you with deep dives that are happening as well and help you structure your DAO. So I would love to hear from anybody else that might be, This is what I encountered yesterday. It's just the way, it's a new way of operating, right? And a new way of co-creating, and we're all learning and we're all new at this. So we're all vulnerable about failures and things that are not working. So I would love to, you know, just engage everyone to be open, to be raw, and to yeah, ask as many questions like Dan just did. He had a full load of questions for us. So do we have any other topic that we wanted to cover in the agenda as well? You hear me? Do we have another sub? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I think we, you know, there was plenty today. I think we're going to build that into the next agenda item. You know, one of the topics I want to talk about next week is the tokenomics model, right? Let's invite some experts. So Mark was earlier on the call today, and focus really more on what this is and how it will work, with so many DAOs joining us, so many members joining the DAOs, right? And what it means in terms of the rewards we're giving back to the network, right? To encourage further growth in that space.
Yeah, I think especially if you already have an organization that is running, it's easier to integrate into the DAO as well, because it's already, you already have a structure, you have a format. So by creating the first 4 members and creating the first proposals are easier to achieve. And then once the community layer comes in, then it's going to be a super plus for everyone. So, all right. Any other feedback or final thoughts? I have a shy group. Come on. No, don't be shy. Come on, guys. There's so many questions. So I'm very happy you guys all show up today, and looking forward to the next town hall in 2 weeks. I want to give a little shout out to, please check on the website for the services that we have, and Hypha Labs too, the affiliates, and how Hypha is rewarding people for bringing their network into Hypha. So it's all collaboration and working together at this point. Otherwise, we're not going to get there. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. To be continued.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Super clear.
Bye,
Good work.
Dan.
Thank you for the progress. I'm looking forward to weave further and connect more networks. We really need to collaborate on a larger scale. We're working on building multiple alliances with different people, also to use a marketing development fund approach for ecosystem funding for multiple organizations together. So I'm working on that with the PowerShift Capital, with the Memory Collective, with the Transition Collective, and also with several network state initiatives also to facilitate roundtables between them. So I'm hoping that one of these is going to align and come through. This morning also had a conversation with somebody to create this collective. And yeah, it would be obviously, if we can all operate in a similar DAO structure and exchange value together like that, that is the future. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, what is the timing and what is the right moment and what is the required work and investment and what's the best timing for that? So thanks so much for your work. It was very clear, everything. So
thanks,
Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, everyone. Lenny. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.